Hi, welcome to Transmissions from the Transgender Battleground. I'm CatLady762, and as always, if you like this video, please consider hitting the little buttons to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Disclaimer: the views expressed in this video or any other video on my channel are exclusively those of myself, CatLady762, and do not necessarily represent the views of Gender Dysphoria Alliance. This video is going to be part 2 on my series about gender identity. Specifically, we're going to explore the concept of, does everybody have a gender identity? If you remember from part 1, a trans rights activist took issue with several gender-critical, quotes, people stating that in their ideal world, there would not be a gender identity. And one of the things that they took issue with is the concept that, for the most part, gender-critical people don't believe that they have a gender identity. But most trans people, or at least the activists among gender world, believe that everybody has a gender identity. The only difference is that for cis people, it matches their sex. They even went so far, this activist, to say that if you were to take random gender-critical woman, we'll call her Helen, because there were a few Helens mentioned, and to give them cross-sex hormones or even surgeries to appear more masculine, that this person would then experience gender dysphoria and therefore prove that they have a gender identity that matches their actual sex. So let's talk a bit about where the concept of gender identity comes from, at least as I understand it. Now, I don't believe that this was the first person to come up with the concept, but I believe that it was popularized by Dr. John Money and his work with a patient called David Reimer. David Reimer, for those that are unfamiliar, was a male child who, through an unfortunate accident during his circumcision, lost a significant part of their penis. As a result, doctors decided that it would be best to perform surgery to reconstruct genitalia that was more visually similar to female genitals, and for the parents to raise the child as if they were a girl. Well, throughout their life, as they grew and got older, this child apparently expressed discomfort and dissatisfaction with this situation. Apparently, the fact that, even though no one ever told this child that they were actually biologically male, their gender identity became clear, and that person was cisgender because their identity matched what their biological sex really was, despite the fact that that child had no external way of knowing any different until they were eventually told. And I believe that they decided to eventually transition and live as a man. And unfortunately, the story of David Reimer had a tragic ending. And so a lot of activists like to use the case of David Reimer as proof that, see, even though this person was raised and had no idea that they were not a girl, their identity as a boy still won out. The problem with this is, one, it's an isolated case. Two, I think you would be hard-pressed to find anybody within today's medical circles that would not say that what happened to this child was highly unethical. And three, you really can't extrapolate based on a sample size of 1. Because in reality, we have no way to ethically test this hypothesis that it is a gender identity that is linked to dysphoria. The only way that you could test this would be to take a sample of infants, perform such surgeries on a portion of them, and see how many developed dysphoria versus not. And then also compare that to how many that did not receive such treatment developed dysphoria or not. Well, no one is going to do that. That's insane. But yet, we're going to sit here and say, but we know for a fact that this would be the outcome. Well, we really don't. We make assumptions. And even if you were to take the trans activists that said that this mythical Helen would develop dysphoria, we don't really know that they would or not. And the nice catch-22 is if said Helen did not develop dysphoria, then the activist would then turn around and say, well, see, that just proves you were trans all along and you just didn't know it. Well, isn't that convenient? So either you do this and I feel bad, and so therefore you prove that I was cisgender all along, or you do this and I don't feel bad, and that means I'm transgender. Well, why can't it just mean that you did this and I freaking don't care? Yeah, it's annoying to correct people if they call me sir all the time, or it's annoying if people, treat me differently, but ultimately I don't care. And some people are like that, and that's perfectly normal. See, part of the problem that I've noticed with some trans people is because the concept of gender identity is very important to them, they somehow think it's very important to everybody else. One of the things that I get called out on by other trans people is the fact that I claim that I don't have a gender identity. I'm sorry, I just don't believe in the concept. So what that tends to lead some of them to do is pretend like they now don't know what to do with me. Now, if I don't tell them what pronouns I want, they suddenly have no idea how to refer to me. Or they'll tell me, oh, you don't have a gender identity, you must be agender. Well, gee, isn't that also convenient that you have created a category to put me in based on how you feel I should be categorized? Convenient. Now, maybe there is such a thing as gender identity, and maybe we all have one. The problem is we can't treat this as if it is settled science. You can't treat it as if we know without a doubt, within 99% of situations, what somebody's gender identity is. Some people very well may just be, okay, I'm male, that means I'm a man, okay, that's fine, I'm comfortable with that. There may be a lot of males that if they were raised in a situation where the expectation of males was considerably different than what most of us in, say, Western civilizations have, they might feel restrained by that or might feel awkward by it. We don't know. They might feel perfectly fine with it. I know plenty of women that are able to grow facial hair. I know some that grow it specifically for No Mo November to show solidarity for men that suffer from, I think, prostate or testicular cancer, I'm not sure which. If it bothered them to have a masculine feature like that, I would assume that they wouldn't do it. Does the fact that it doesn't bother them suddenly make them not women? No. Like a lot of things in the gender debate, a lot of people on the gender radical side of things want to call things settled science. It's science that we all have a gender identity. Is it? I don't think it is. If it is, it should be something very simple to prove. We should be able to, succinctly understand what somebody's gender identity is. It should be something that is able to be tested for with actual medical tests, but it's not. Transition is, pretty much a social science area. You go to a therapist, who is usually somebody with a degree in sociology or social work, not a scientist. And you talk. And you tell them how you feel, what you want to do. It's really based on what you choose. I did not get a brain scan. I did not get an MRI. I went to a therapist and said, "Hi, I'm Cat Lady 762, and I would like to live my life as if I'm a woman, even though I understand that I am male. And I am doing this because as a necessity for the medical treatment that I want, I have to come and see you." And that's pretty much it. That's not science. Not really. So, no, I don't believe that everybody has a gender identity. Now, does that mean that there is not possibly one? Sure, it's possible. But until it is able to be proven, until it is able to be shown definitively, I think it is a poor idea to base rights on something as nebulous as a gender identity. But as always, that's only my opinion. Thank you.